Hello guys, welcome to another webinar of our webinar series with partners, with hardware partners. This is a spin-off of the webinars that Cav has been presenting with our hardware partners. In this case, we're going to deal with a private LTE hardware partner, CTS. This is going to be a bit focused on the US because this is on CBRS Spectrum, 3.5 gigs. But for our audience in the other parts of the world, it's going to be really interesting for you because this is going to highlight how important and how essential it is to have a private network that is paired with a mission critical push-to-talk solution. This is Carlos Fernandez from TASSTA, and my co-partner and presenter is Dean Fresonki from CTS. Hello, Dean.
Hello, Carlos. Thank you for allowing us to put this together today, and really looking forward to talking through this. This is an exciting time for the industry, and really happy to be here with you.
Okay, so the way this webinar is going to go, after the introductions, we're going to review some of the basic concepts over a short PowerPoint. We don't want to really bore you over PowerPoint. And after that, we're going to ask each other a few questions that we feel are going to be relevant for the audience. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. So we're going to go together over this quick PowerPoint first. Okay, so first, I know that you guys mostly know TASSTA. So, but still, for some of you, if you're coming new to this webinar, so these are a few basic concepts of what TASSTA is, what TASSTA represents, and what our solutions do. So, of course, we're a mission critical communications provider since 2012, sorry. So we are present mostly in all parts of the world. Of course, our headquarters are in Germany, but we have, presence in Latin America, South Africa, Russia, and also now we are present in the United States, and we're really pushing hard our solutions in the North American market. An important concept that we'll probably elaborate later is that our solution is MCX compatible. So what's that? So there is a standard that is being built by 3GPP, which is the same body that defined LTE, and basically sets up all the specifications and requirements that a mission critical solution over LTE needs to comply with. So this is also based for PTT, for text messaging, and for video. So that's kind of what we are going to refer as MCX moving forward. So it's not anymore a private developed POC solution, but top tier application providers such as TASSTA are following the MCX. Our solution, of course, is available for different OS, Android, iOS, and Windows mostly, and we also have an SDK for Linux. And we also have, of course, as part of our presentation, a full console dispatch solution, and we provide gateways to legacy radio networks. With those 5 images, I want to represent what the 5 concepts I'm going to be reviewing quickly. Push-to-talk, geofencing and mapping solutions, push-to-video, man-down and lone worker protection, and encryption and security of the whole solution. Of course, on the push-to-talk side, you can expect from a mission-critical push-to-talk solution every feature that you usually find on a radio, on a legacy radio. So you can make group calls, of course, you can do private calls, you can have different levels of priorities from different people in the organization. Of course, we do have emergency call management. We can send status messaging and text messaging with the advantage that we can now attach media files. The solution is fully end-to-end encrypted for those military applications that do require that. And we do have dynamic group calling, that if you are not familiar with, is the ability of the dispatch to create groups on the fly and over the air in case of an incident. So it basically becomes easier to manage the units that are deployed on a specific incident or area. Now, taking advantage of the broadband networks, so we can also offer video as part of our solution. So we have 2, or I would say 3 types of video communications. One is video calls, like one-to-one full duplex video calls that can be set up. We have push-to-video as well. So push-to-video is kind of emulating the traditional PTT for voice, but every time the user presses the PTT, it also shows the video that user is showing. Video sometimes, can save lives because you can basically present with a video an image that is more powerful than words. So Push-to-Video is very useful, and it's used by most of our customers as well. And we are also now working on remote video, which basically it's going to be the ability to stream video from a device that is remotely on the field. Just think of a drone that has Android or any OS that we can install our T-Flex. So basically users in the field could be receiving the video, could push the video from that drone. So that's the whole push-to-video solution that we are working on as well. Of course, as every solution in the market, we have traditional GPS location outdoors paired with geofencing. But what TASSTA uniquely offers as well is the ability to track resources indoor. And that we typically do that with Bluetooth beacons. So basically, you can have Bluetooth beacons that are installed throughout the building, and then of course we can track the user throughout the building, and we can incorporate that map into our dispatch solution. So that typically gives an edge for those type of customers, such as hospitals or oil and gas, that have really big indoor areas in the coverage area. And this is a unique feature that we offer in the market, which is certified by the German body, which is lone worker protection, or what typically radio users are usually calling man down. But our lone worker protection offers much more. So of course we have the man down emergency alert, which, as you may know, it's a change in inclination or of the device will basically trigger an alarm. But we can also do a lot of things based on the capabilities of the smartphones. Like for example, if battery goes lower or goes below 30%, we can also trigger that alarm into the system. So we can also have the real lone worker, which is a periodic check on the user that basically is working alone. So every minute, 2 minutes, the user needs to go and check or push a button. Otherwise, an alarm will be triggered, and everything will go into the crisis team that is defined for that user. And again, I think that is one of the unique features of TASSTA solution that makes it really mission critical. And finally, of course, everybody's asking, how can you rely smartphones or how could you rely, broadband networks? But our TASSTA solution is fully secured. From TLS 1.2 at the transport layer to authentication of the users. And for authentication, we have a two-factor authentication based on user password, and we can even log that user password to the IMEI of the phone number. So everybody can be sure that even if your user password are stolen, nobody can use another device to connect to the system with your user password. And of course, finally, for those police or military applications, we have end-to-end encryption. So it's AES 256, fully military grade, that can be incorporated into the voice communications. So that's what we call, a real mission critical push-to-talk solution. And that was kind of a quick introduction on our products. And Dean, if you want to go ahead a bit describing CTS and its capabilities.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. Thank you very much. So CTS stands for Communication Technology Services, and that name kind of sums up the company. Well, we've been in the business for 30 years building cellular networks for the wireless operators themselves, and then also for enterprise customers that needed in-building cellular systems. We have over 500 people spread throughout the US, across 20 offices, and we've done a wide variety of projects. We take it from soup to nuts, from the very beginning of initial network concept. We have a very large design center. Our RF designers are a very talented group, and it's the largest group behind those at AT&T and Verizon. And then we have a really large set of projects. If we take a quick look at the next slide, we've done projects at 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, the biggest convention centers, the largest hotel properties all over the US. And what's important about this concept is that all of these are cellular projects. Now, Wi-Fi and cellular, private cellular often get compared, and they are similar, but they're different. And with private cellular, you're truly building an LTE or 5G network. And it takes more than it takes with Wi-Fi. You have to design exactly how your radios are going to cover the space. You got to design the core network so that it hands off correctly. And that it's enabled correctly. And CTS brings that kind of experience through all these years of working with the wireless operators. So with private wireless, private cellular, we're able to take this vast experience base, apply it to our enterprise customers' private wireless networks with great success. So what's really been enabling all this, we'll talk about on the next slide. We found that enterprise customers have a couple different needs. Sometimes the needs are not just technical, but it's also financial. So we can provide a system that's totally turnkey for an upfront capital cost, but we're very good at providing a managed service where we handle all of the day in and day out operations at a very reasonable monthly service fee. So very little money up front and spreading that cost across a multi-month, multi-year contract serves our customers very well in many cases. So our solution is totally turnkey and end-to-end. So we provide all the radio networks, we do all the cabling work, we do all the design and the installation. And then the one big difference that some don't appreciate between Wi-Fi and private cellular is there is a centralized switch, a core network that operates all those radios. Now, the big operators, that's in a big data center in the middle of a city someplace. For private wireless, we alleviate all of those issues and complexities for our customers by putting the network components either completely in the cloud that we operate, or we divide the components and we put some components on site and then remotely manage them and then have other components in the cloud. Or in some mission critical operations, like some of the things we're talking about today, we can put all the components on site and everything's running at the customer site, but we remotely manage it so our customers don't have to learn the bits and bytes of running a cellular network. We can also provide backups, spares, and truck rolls on a problem in the unlikely case something breaks in the middle of the night. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit more about how this world has changed with CBRS Spectrum. So CBRS Spectrum became available in the US midsummer last year, so just months ago, and it has truly changed the dynamic of what we can do in the US with private cellular. So the FCC allowed this wide swath of bandwidth that end users can use with a few caveats. There's something called the Spectrum Access System, the SAS, that keeps track of who's using the spectrum when. So this is a good thing actually, because with Wi-Fi, anybody and everybody could bring their Wi-Fi devices into an airport and then fire them all up and completely fill up the spectrum being used for Wi-Fi, and then we all suffer. This is not the case with private LTE or private 5G. With the Spectrum Access System, while it's free, it's still allocated so that in an airport situation, for instance, this private network has completely clean spectrum that can be counted on for mission critical applications like the ones we're talking about today. So it's a very exciting change. We're starting to see these kind of activities in other countries, but in other countries, there is also other spectrum available. So this private wireless business is not just a US thing, but CBRS has supercharged it here in the US. Carlos, let's take a look at the next slide there. Now, the other thing about private wireless, we're talking about push-to-talk today and mission critical communications, but one of the interesting things about these private cellular networks is that they can be used for a lot of different things once they're in place. And unlike Wi-Fi, they work really great outdoors and they'll go miles. That's all allowed under this new FCC licensing. So where Wi-Fi, if you're going to get a couple hundred yards out of it outdoors, you're doing pretty good. We're talking about miles of coverage with this kind of private LTE equipment. And with that kind of indoor, outdoor, campus-wide, industrial site-wide coverage, we can cover a lot of different use cases. So we're going to be talking about safety and communications here, but you can create broadband connectivity any place on a site. And you could even use a MiFi device. So you use private cellular to a location, say a remote construction trailer, and then inside that construction trailer, the little MiFi device generates Wi-Fi. So in those cases, everybody wins. Private cellular becomes your backhaul, and Wi-Fi makes everybody's pocket and purse-based devices function. we're also seeing a lot of use for private cellular in IoT applications because it's much more reliable than Wi-Fi. And so monitoring, metering, reading, safety considerations through IoT can all be reliably counted on using private LTE. But enough on all that. Let's go back to the importance of mission critical push to talk. So back to you, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, and basically as a real summary of your slides, thank you, Dean. I mean, we're going back to then what is MCX on private LTE? I mean, we've, of course, you know, we are in an area where traditional radio customers are transitioning to broadband applications, and you know, some of them, they don't really know how mission critical their solution is, how to make it more mission critical. I mean, because they are used to have their own network. Okay, so some of them are not that comfortable on relying on third-party networks. So of course, you know, when you pair MCX solution, you know, with a private LTE, you know, then basically you have increased coverage. It's your own private network. You know, private LTE networks are really secure from intrusion threats. So you can secure your network the same way you are used to secure your network on traditional radio. I mean, you have an agnostic or a complete, you know, white label interaction with legacy networks, because again, you know, I mean, we can bridge them, you know, no matter which is the type of radio network that you had before, even if you want to consolidate a couple of radio networks that you had before and you want to transition step by step, so that can be done as well. And then, I mean, you truly have one network that is built on the standard that the world has chosen for, you know, mission critical communications moving forward, and you can add on other services. And as Dean, you just mentioned, I mean, it's not only about mission critical push to talk, but video, sensors, you know, all related to IoT. So basically, I mean, MCX and private LTE, I mean, it's kind of, you know, the best solution you can find in the market right now. I mean, on a quick feature comparison, of course, you know, you can have the basic functionalities like individual calls, text messaging. So I would say that all this is guaranteed on the MCX solution, on the TASSTA MCX solution. But then you can add, you know, at least 2 significant features that, you know, in this quick table we can show, which of course is video calls, video streaming. So that comes by default because of the capacity of the smartphones. And then of course you can do audio playback on mobile devices. Again, now you're having a very powerful device with processing capacity on your hand, and you have the broadband network to basically retrieve any data you can need, you know, in a situation of danger. So that's a quick comparison. Of course, I mean, we can go over a longer list if anybody in the audience is interested, but you know, I think that gives you a quick overview. And you know, we also have a lot of, and that's why I'm bringing up this slide. I mean, we have devices, you know, in this case, you know, for CBRS Spectrum in 3.5 gig. What about the device manufacturers? So yes, I mean, of course, device manufacturers are following the market trends. You know, this is an example that is currently available in the US for CBRS Spectrum. It's a military grade phone, you know, that goes with the mil specifications. You know, it's built for professional use. I mean, like a radio is built for professional use. You can operate with your gloves on. So it has an enhanced battery life. It's IP68. So yeah, on the device side, I mean, you don't really need to worry. And of course, this can only get better, and this will only get better because we are hearing every day that new manufacturers are adding frequency bands to their devices. So that was kind of a bit of the overview we wanted to give you guys, you know, on the few concepts about TASSTA, CTS, and the use of private LTE. And I think we're going to switch back to both presenters. And you know, as I was following your presentation, Dean, and I have a question for you that I'd like to ask, you know, because I think this has come across my customers when, you know, discussing with them about private LTE. So basically to say, how can I get CBRS Spectrum? What can I do? Because I hear about CBRS Spectrum, so I'm interested. So what are the steps I need to take? So should I talk to a partner like CTS? They can bring the whole solution. So how does it work? You know?
Yeah. So back to that earlier comment about building a cellular network. We're truly building a miniature cellular network. Well, not so miniature. It could cover many square miles. And in that scenario, the great news is the frequency is free, but it's not without strings attached. So we have to set up our core network. the radio network itself to make the coverage. And then this core network has to check in with these databases, these real-time databases that the FCC runs through something called a SAS. And that check-in has to occur every 5 seconds, or the radios are required to turn back off. So there is some plumbing required, some network plumbing behind the scenes to make it work. And it's possible to do it yourself, but CTS, we can make it very, very easy and bring all the different pieces with a single solution. So kind of back to you, Carlos. The thing I hear about PushtoTalk is, oh, well, I've heard about PushtoTalk. I think there's a free app in the App Store that does PushtoTalk. So why TASTA? Why have something? What really makes it better?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy, about this question, because now it's are the times of, this push-to-talk fever. So of course, there are a lot of applications that are coming. And yeah, you're right. Some of them are offering nearly free services. So at the end of the day, I always, recommend our customers, which, the ones that really choose TASTA are professional customers, that the same way they did an evaluation with the radio system, they should do a thorough evaluation with the push-to-talk application as well, because they want a mission critical push-to-talk, and I think some cues to look at are, what are the functionalities? Do I have advanced functionalities like lone worker protection? Yes or no? Is that vendor following the 3GPP standard, or are there plans on the vendor to follow the 3GPP standard? Yes or no? So at the end of the day, you're right. There is a wide scope. Probably, they will serve, different use cases. But for the ones that TASTA is really interested in, with our partners, around the world, which are professional users, again, I recommend to check the features and check if the application is following the standard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah. So I think also, Dean, for example, it's like, because TASTA can also work on Wi-Fi. Of course, this is not mission critical network. So we have some customers that they have Wi-Fi networks. Say, look, I want to take the next step. So I wanna do private cellular. I want to do LTE. So what do I do with my Wi-Fi? So all that investment, especially manufacturing plants, they have Wi-Fi over the plant. So how can we reuse, reconvert, or take advantage of that Wi-Fi networks?
Yeah, that's a question that comes up all the time. So what we see is our industrial customers, even our enterprise customers, white collar customers, are seeing the similar thing. So Wi-Fi continues to work, and in many cases it works great, but it often, in many cases, is overloaded. It doesn't hand off very well. So if somebody's moving around a factory floor, it doesn't really hand off very well. And the reliability of it staying connected can be a real problem if the connection is to some kind of stamping machine in a manufacturing line. So what we're seeing is that Wi-Fi stays in place, no reason to take it out, and private cellular lays in over the top of it because it's using different spectrum, so they don't get in each other's way. It's like having two different highways to the same city. But now you're going down a sideway that's 5 lanes and there's no traffic on it. And you're using cellular technology that knows how to hand off, because it was designed to be driving 100 miles an hour like Carlos does without skipping a beat when it hands off from tower to tower. So all the underlying cellular power and technology works. The other thing about private is that it's very, very secure. So just like your phone from your favorite wireless operator has a SIM card in it, so does every device on the private wireless network. So there's no possibility that somebody could sit in a van outside your building and tap into your private cellular network, like it's potentially possible with your Wi-Fi network, because there's no chance they would have that physical SIM in their device. And that's a security protocols that the cellular industry has worked very hard on over the years, and it is bulletproof. And all that learning gets transferred into these private cellular networks.
Okay,
well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I hear it's complementary, but it's, let's say, the next upgrade.
It's the next upgrade. And the more you put on the private cellular network, the less devices are on the Wi-Fi network. So the Wi-Fi network can tend to work better. So you can use it for more casual uses, like employees at break time, while your machines are running on your private cellular network. So, Carlos, we kind of skipped over the architecture of the push-to-talk system. Is the brains in the cloud, or the brains on site at the enterprise location? Where does the core components, the software components of your solution sit?
So of course, I mean, both possibilities are on the table. So I mean, the cloud solution is based, and an on-premise solution is also possible as well. But that also depends on, again, the type of customer. Of course, we've talked before about multiple vendors bringing POC solutions to the market. The easy way to bring them is on cloud. So basically, I mean, you have a server somewhere and basically offer cloud services. But, the same way that, a user may be interested in, having more control on the network and bringing in a private LTE solution, I don't see that there is a point that they work out of a cloud server, basically because of security reasons. So all our, let's call it critical infrastructure customers, such as oil and gas or utilities, so they are basically going for an on-premise server, because that way, I mean, everything is inside their corporate network, including the LTE, of course, as well. So everything is inside, so I mean, that they can secure their whole solution. So yes, we can offer a cloud server service as well. We do offer cloud services for some customers, but let's say 99% of our critical infrastructure customers, they opt in for an on-premise solution.
Makes sense.
There's the question we have, been asked a lot, and I think I'll have something to say about this as well, but I'd rather get your opinion first, and then I'll try to complement your answer. So, of course, now everyone is talking about 5G. So now we have 5G. So you're coming here talking about LTE. So I mean, can they have a private 5G network? How is that evolving? So how do you see that 5G talk?
Yes, great question. And it's on a lot of people's minds because 5G is all over the marketing of all the wireless operators. So everybody's got 5G on the brain. Well, the good news is that when we talk about private cellular, I use that term carefully because it can be private 4G, or it can be private 5G, or it can be both simultaneously. We got a customer that's running both. The advantage of private 4G right now is availability of devices. So there's far more many radios available. There's because the radios in the ceiling of a building are designed to run 4G, and then the end user devices down on the floor of the factory, the warehouse, or the industrial complex are also running 4G. But more and more every day, more and more 5G devices are announced, and what that means is that the radios in the ceiling get upgraded to 5G, or we've got customers that are running both at the same time. So there's 4G radios and 5G radios complementing each other, filling the building full of signal. I guess you could kind of think about it as Wi-Fi runs at 2.5 gig and 5 gig at the same time, so you have these two frequencies. This is using these CBRS bands in a complementary fashion, and you can run 4G and 5G at the same time. Of course, just like the rest of the world, these private networks will eventually migrate to 5G when more and more devices are available. But right now, there's such a vast number, hundreds of devices that work on 4G that if you want immediate deployments, 4G is the right way to go. And then we just lay all the networking components in and then run 5G right over the top of it, so you have both at the same time.
And I can have a type of the same answer on my side. I wanted to hear your opinion first. Also, I mean, of course, POC solutions work everywhere where you have a broadband connection. But so far, right now, the 3GPP standard, the MCX standard, is built on LTE. So basically, you need to give time to things to evolve. So you can have, and you will have, of course, the same type of features and feasibility in 5G. But you also need to understand that, it's kind of standards for mission critical take time. So we need to let it, mature on the LTE side of things, which gives, end users enough broadband for the applications they want to do. And of course, they will benefit of 5G, in the years to come. But again, LTE for us is now, I mean, the choice in that way as well.
Carlos, I got a simple application question for you. So let's say there's an oil and gas facility or a large warehousing operation, and the workers are using PushtoTalk on that facility on the private network. Let's say the supervisor goes home and his phone is now running on the public network, and AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile network. Can those two talk to each other?
Yeah, I mean, from the perspective of the TASTA server, as long as we have connection to an internet, to let's say to the Verizon, so we are not limited to the private LTE or to the private cellular core, yes, we can provide that. So we have no problem from the point of view of the software. So, and I'll kind of revert the question to you as well. So we have SIM cards for private cellular. So can they roam to the Verizon or carriers, or they need to use Wi-Fi? When they're outside the private cellular coverage. So how does it work on the device side?
Yeah, so this is an evolving story. This CBRS Spectrum's only been out literally months, not years at this point. So today there's a couple different ways to make it work on both sides. You can dedicate devices to your campus environment, so it just works on private wireless. That works a lot, and that works really well for a lot of industries where they really don't want their devices going home. It needs to be used on site, and that's where it should stay. But the devices also have what we call dual SIMs, so two SIMs. So one SIM that works inside the campus network, and then the other SIM could be one of the big operators' SIMs. So it works like a regular cell phone once it leaves the building. And we're actively involved with wireless operators, creating something we call hand in and hand out. So coming from the outside network, driving into the building, you switch over automatically. Today, there is a switch from one SIM to the other. It's a software. You kind of flip the software switch and you switch over to networks. But just around the corner is kind of an elegant behind the scenes transfer of service. So you can go into the private wireless coverage or out smoothly. So it's all in the works, and an investment today in a private network, as time goes by, it's a very simple upgrade to make that work.
Yeah, and I think that gives a big edge to this technology, because previously, and I'm coming from the radio world, I mean, you can have solutions where you have a restricted coverage area like a manufacturing plant or an oil and gas. So users use the radios there, but when they were heading home or a manager was going out, they were scrambling to get connection to the radio network. So in this way, I mean, if you go to private cellular, so you have the smartphones, so you have a mission critical network in the area that you really want to have mission critical network. But then when you go out, I mean, for those employees that need to, I mean, they can have still, full access to their, mission critical network over cellular carriers or other less secure broadband connections like Wi-Fi. But at the end of the day, it gives them added value. So I think that's a big advantage, that these solutions have, compared to traditional LMR radio.
Well, we probably should wrap it up so that our viewers can get on to the rest of their day, whatever that might be. It's been great talking to you today. We're really excited about this partnership with TASSTA. We see a lot of opportunity, and most importantly, we've got customers already asking for it, and so we're here to serve.
Yeah, same on my side. So thank you guys for watching us. It's been a pleasure, and for any of you that may be interested in contacting Dean or myself, I mean, you know how to track me, and otherwise is cf@tasta.com, and I can connect you guys, of course, with Dean. And yeah, see you in the next webinar session. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.